Hello, my friends, and welcome to Living in the Light. Was a few minutes late tonight. I have to tell you why. And don't look now, okay? Don't look now. My lipstick was considerably crooked, and I kept trying to fix it this way and that, and I couldn't fix it. So I went back to the bathroom and I did it again, and I came back and it still was awful. So I said, heck with it. I wiped it all off and it still was awful. So I went back in and I reapplied it, and it is what it is. Now, you may think that is vanity, but it's not. You see, if I did not fix my lipstick, what you would have kind of seen was this. Seriously. So you wouldn't have been able to think about what I was saying because you'd be looking at my cockeyed mouth. Oh, it's good to be able to laugh at yourself, you know. And like my hair I just can't figure it. For about a year now, my hair's just been doing its own thing, which it is what it is. I just keep reminding myself that I'm glad I have it, right? Okay, I'd like to start off today. We're going to be talking about how to have a happy holiday anyway. But I want to go back to the last time we were together on Friday, and the verdict had just come back on the Rittenhouse trial, and I was devastated. You know, it's like when you study spiritual principle and cause and effect and everything, and you're absolutely certain it's going to turn out one way, and it turns out another way. And I had to sit on that for a few days and think about it, because I did say it in the video, but I just want to underscore it and say we are human, and sometimes when something hits us real hard, we need recovery time. One of the reasons I'm so glad that Unity is a part of my life and I became a Unity minister is because I stay on top of it all the time. I evaluate, I ponder how that came to be, and then I come to, after a while I come to conclusions. And I really needed a few days to think about it and to be okay with it. And whereas I'm not okay with the way it turned out, it truly, truly is what it is. And we're going to talk today a little bit about how you handle those times when you don't know what to do. You have to bear with me a minute. I cannot. Somebody please help me figure out how to make this darn thing go away, this reminder that I have to change my FPS rate, because I've tried and I can't do it. And I know that, thank you, Kathy, for sending me a video on it, but it was like they were speaking Swahili. I didn't get a bit out of it. And I'm looking at this little thing that Facebook says. It says learn more, and then you look and you're going, wait a minute, I'm not getting anything out of this I can do. Hang on a minute. All right, so hang on, it says troubleshoot, so I'm going to see if I can troubleshoot this. And when I open troubleshoot, it says troubleshoot. You know what? I'm not going to bother with it now. I'm just going to deal with that little thing sticking out in the corner that I'll have to. And so we start over. And just like I'm going to try to give you some tips on to have a happy holiday anyway, I'm going to do a great video anyway. That's what it's like. You gotta roll with it. They say sometimes if you're not happy, if you're upset, act as if. Now, that can be taken two ways. One way it can be taken is that you are in denial. You're denying the reality of something. On the other hand, the other way to understand it is that you understand that there's something awry, but you are not going to let it stop you. You're not going to let it take your purpose, your joy, whatever you're doing. It's not going to let it. So I'm not going to let that little pop up take my joy today. Right? Well, it's National Calendar Day today. Is Cranberry Relish Day. I'm not a big fan of cranberry relish. My sister makes some, and it's very good. And the little bit that I have when I go to her house, that satisfies me. I like the homemade whole berry cranberry sauce. Oh, I do. And the way that you cook it, and when you cook it, you just boil it, and you as the cranberries pop open and the juices all come out. And yeah, can you tell I like that? And there's so many things you can do with it. People say, well, I've made it, but there's so much left over when I'm done. I don't know what to do with it. Oh, man, you can add it with cream cheese and make a sandwich filling. You can put it on sandwiches. You can make banana bread and put it in there, and it adds to the moistness and the... I'm going to drool here. Yeah, very good. So, tomorrow, I would have made it for you today while we were even speaking, but I can't because my grocery order is not coming until 9:30 or 10 tonight. I'm so happy, though, that I did the online order because I did not feel like going to the grocery store, All right, so let's talk about some of the things that can potentially affect our happiness over the holidays. A couple of weeks ago, there was a thing that came out, and it was a picture of a turkey. And it said, last Thanksgiving, and it gave the cost for the turkey. And this Thanksgiving, and it was like outrageous. So what happens? You get upset because you go, oh my gosh, did you see how much that's going to cost? Things are horrible. The prices are going up. There's nothing on the shelves. I'll tell you something. I have had very little problem with things not being on the shelves, number one. Number two, the turkeys were advertised the other day for 69 cents a pound, which is not that unlikely. Now, you can get a turkey that's over $2, up to $2.49 a pound. Now, those turkeys are free range, all natural, organic. So, yeah, that is the truth. There was another thing going on about the price of gas. And someone was saying that gas was over $7 a gallon in California. Well, that isn't really, it's factually not factually. There is one gas station, like in a remote God knows where, that's what they charge. But you know what? It's what they have to charge to pay their rent, to pay for the fuel to be delivered up to next to nowhere, Things are not always as they appear. And our job, if we want to have a happy holiday, is to learn to deal with things the way they appear and to get to the core of it and to learn to cope with it. So that is just, don't go jumping to conclusions when you read one thing. Take a deep breath. If you were afraid that turkeys were going to get too high, you could have bought one back then. Or, you know what? There's chicken, You can't get a turkey. There's chicken. And remember, there's a lot of people that are trying to simply make up what they lost during the shutdowns. And that doesn't make the shutdowns bad. It is what it is. We take that as our starting point and we make things better. We can all do it. All right. Now, the other two other things, I'm not going to harp on them because if you haven't heard it on the news, go look it up. One is the parade, which I'm sure everybody knows about, where there were 5 people killed by someone that slammed right through the parade in an SUV. And I'm assuming he was probably on something, and they said he was running from a crime he'd just committed, and that doesn't help any. But again, a lot of people today are falling into fear. They're afraid to go anywhere. They're afraid to do anything. Yes, there are horrible things happening. There are horrible things. There really are more bad things or more negative, painful, useless, unnecessary suffering, which is what Unity calls sin. There's a lot of that out there. But let's say there were 80 people, there were 40 people hurt, 5 people killed, that for all the parades that happened that day around the country, around the world, for all the parades, that was one parade. Don't make it keep you from coming out of your house and going to a parade. You can be alert, you can pay attention. I'm sure they're going to come up with ways to try to, to keep everyone even safer. We're going to go to whys in a minute. And the other one was that in San Francisco, there was a grab and dash, but it was a mob of 80 people who ran into a store. They were spraying people with pepper spray and stuff like that, and they grabbed and they dashed. They ran right out of the store with thousands and thousands. Can you imagine 80 people? But here's the thing. For that 80 people that were in that store and did that horrible thing, number one, it's a wake-up call that we need to learn how to deal with these things, because we haven't been dealing with them, and until we learn how to deal with them, they will increase, because our job is to learn how to deal with them. But for those 80 people that ran into that store, on that very surrounding area, there are 80,000 people that wouldn't dream of doing anything like that. And I've talked to you over and over about the need to get to cause, okay? If we were to back up as far as we could in this world and see the man who ran through those people, killed people, terrified people, and made it, it impacted their lives negatively for probably the rest of their lives. Yes, they can get counseling. Yes, they can be thankful that they were okay, and the people who got injured will heal, but your heart, it's got that scar, and getting rid of that scar so that you can continue to live, that's very important. But if we look at that guy who was driving the car, we go back all the way to the day he was born. And I would not doubt that when he was born, he was as beautiful as any one of your kids. And that or you yourself, and when that child was put in his mother's arms, I'm sure she looked at him and wanted the best for him. You see, life is meant to be good. But between that birth, I think it's highly unlikely that he would have been born evil, which is living life backwards. All right? We do believe that evil experiences, which means they're painful, harmful, hurtful, that they happen, but in the big picture reality, that evil is the darkness that we want to bring the light to. Not to destroy it, but to transform it. We transform it with love. Now, I'm not saying we got to love on this guy and say, oh, you poor thing, running from one crime to another. You killed these people. You terrified people. Let's just pray he gets help. Let's pray he is held accountable. Because in being held accountable, there's a possibility that he can get help. That was my pain about Kyle Rittenhouse, is that because there were absolutely no consequences, I don't know that he learned. And if he didn't learn, he can't change and grow. And I don't know what the outcome is going to be of that, but just think on these things, okay? Just consider the possibility that there's much more to this than meets the eye, all right? And I don't want to go into all that stuff. I want to get past that so we can get to how to have a happy holiday anyway. Well, with all that horrible stuff happening, we would say, how could I possibly be happy? And you have to watch your own back because you don't know what's going to happen next, right? Why do we have to assume that something horrible is going to happen? We take what happened, learn from it. That's what we're here for. In the past 8 to 18 years, I don't know, people have become more jaded, more calloused. A lot of negative behaviors are being normalized. We get to the point where we go, oh well, or we fight back, or we buy a bigger gun than our neighbor's bigger gun, then he goes out and gets a bigger gun, and that is not going to fix anything. We have to resensitize. Now, I know everybody made huge jokes about Marianne Williamson during the presidential debates because she was running for president. I'm not going to say I agree with everything she says and does, but she is a very spiritually awakened, heartfelt person. She wrote a book called The Healing of America, a very powerful book that acknowledged, and this was like 25 years ago. And it's one of those books. It's full of good stuff, and it sits on a shelf somewhere. Oh, in the beginning, it made a big splash. People were thinking about it. People were talking about it. But one of those parts in there was about resensitizing America. To resensitize, let's say you got a big old callus on your heel, and it's got to come off. You can't walk right, Sometimes it hurts, but not that often because it's just a callus. But what happens is if you got a callus is then desensitized. It can't feel. If it can't feel, it doesn't even know when it's being hurt. And it can't heal. So what do you do with that callus? Well, a lot of times you have to soak it in water, soften it up. That's our thing. See? We have to learn how to soften up the hardness in our own hearts and in the collective heart. It's like hardening of the arteries, and it can kill us. We want to be resensitized. Now, a lot of that resensitizing we've had an opportunity to do in the past 2 years with the pandemic. As we brought together, we spent more time together. But what happened is, instead of a lot of us learning the importance, what we mean to each other, and the importance of our ability and our health, and that we could run around and stuff like that, instead of that, a lot of people got harder. They got angrier. And in all reality, we were not successful at this point in time in overcoming that. If you keep doing the same thing you're doing, you're going to keep getting the same thing you're getting. We all have to learn how to get along and how to teach others how to get along. In Unity, we teach life is consciousness. Consciousness is awareness. If you were unconscious, you'd be, you wouldn't hear, you wouldn't see. So truly living is being truly conscious. It's being aware of everything. And we want to be aware and we want to be sensitive to people, to what's going on and how to change it. You're not going to want to hear this because people don't like to hear this, okay? We have to break up with violence. We have to stop immersing ourselves in violence and watching movies and listening to music and such that promotes violence. Violence breeds violence. Please, if you are parents, do not let your children watch and play violent games. Please. It will desensitize their consciousness. At least 12 years ago, scientists, psychologists, experts were saying that the young people today they're losing compassion because they communicate in abbreviated words. Their vocabularies stink because it's like WTF, you know. Everyone calls other women the name of female dogs or men or whoever. And it's on TV. It's on TV like every day. You know, this high, classy, what is it? Child of a big hotel chain who says, you know, something like, what the heck does she say? I think she says, and please forgive me for this, but I just want you to hear it. And I hope you're sensitive enough to be offended. And she says, like, suck it up, bitches. You know, she's having this wedding. You're having a wedding. Why are you talking like that? Why are you talking about how hot you are? Why are you, you know, where's some substance to life? You can create substance. Where are you going to find that? You're going to find it within yourself. I got to pick this up or I'm not going to get to the end. I keep going off on rants today, and I really want to get this done. We want our children to be sensitive. We don't want them to be desensitized. That does not mean they're what do you call those? Wimps. They're not wimpy. You want to make them aware, conscious, and to handle things with grace. I think I'm going to have to break this up and do it in two because my time is really running out. All right, so let me try to get to the real core of what I want to talk about today. What we hear in the news, what we see, drags us down. So, number one, you want to be aware. I'm going to tell you something. I talk to many, many, many people who say, oh, I don't even watch the news. Well, if you don't watch the news, you're not looking for signs. You will not be ready to deal with the negative things that come into your life. We have to be forewarned is forearmed. I'm not talking about guns and knives and stuff, okay? I mean spiritually, mentally, and emotionally armed. Ignorance is not bliss. It is dangerous and it is deadly. We must pay attention. They keep telling us to pay attention, but you know, it's much easier to say, well, I'm just not going to watch that news. To me, it is your responsibility as a part of all humankind, as a part of, the United States. We put it right out there. It's a government of, by, and for the people. By. That means we have to participate. Our communities, our health and well-being of the citizens, we are a collective. And how do we change? I've said it 100 times. I'm going to say it 100 times more. By being change makers, by being mutually accountable and collectively responsible for each other. Be a change maker. M-A-C-R. Mutually accountable, collectively responsible. Okay, now where did I go? All right, so when things are dragging us down, like the news, because you're going to listen to it a little bit now, aren't you? Don't immerse yourself in it. Don't let it kill you. But you have to be aware of it. Jesus said, "In this world there will be tribulation, but I have overcome the world." So we say, "You did? How did you do it?" You want to know how he did it? Look at what he taught. Look at what he taught. Okay? He taught about love. He taught about peace. He taught about understanding. He taught about feeding the poor. You know? So if you don't want to go read the whole Bible, just do the 10 Commandments and his 2 biggies. Love God, love yourself, love each other, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love yourself is important there too, but not to the point of being too self-involved. Okay, we are on the midst of 2 really important holidays, and one is Christmas for Christians. That is, we even call it the coming of the light of Christ coming to the world, and for us, for a lot of people, it's God with skin on, because he perfectly expressed what he taught. Or in unity, as we say, he walked his talk. Do we? We'll be a lot happier if we do. The other thing is the Festival of Lights, and that is the Jewish tradition, which is Hanukkah. And in Hanukkah, they celebrate the core basic nut of it is that they're celebrating the fact that when they did their work, what they were supposed to do, and they went to purify the temple, and they couldn't because they needed to have that oil, the oil lamp, lit for 8 days for the purification process. And they only had enough oil for 1 day. And as they turned to God, that lamp stayed lit, just as it was supposed to be. And for us, we have to put our faith in something greater. In the pagan religions, they celebrate because on December 21st is when we go past the winter solstice, and so the nights are getting shorter, the days are getting longer. Wow. I called my sister up and I said, Valerie, get. And she goes, what? I said, it's 4 o'clock and it's still light. A week later, Valerie, it's 5 o'clock and it's still light. The coming of the light. I've talked to you before about the importance of the illumination, and that's the illumination, the wisdom, the knowing, as opposed to the ignorance. All the lower consciousness is ignorance. It's not that people are inherently evil, they don't know. And because things like church attendance is falling apart so badly, I'm not telling anybody what church to go, I'm not telling you what to believe, but I am telling you, when you lift up your spirit, when you lift up your consciousness higher out of the sludge of lower consciousness, you will be happier. We will have a happier world to live in. We will have better relationships. Doesn't matter what church you go to. Find a time and a place. Connect with kindred spirits. And what better time than Hanukkah and Christmas, when we celebrate the coming of the light. Even the pagans, the coming of the light. That will lift us up. Now, there's one last thing I want to say. I got 2 minutes. We have 2 particular hormones that affect us very strongly. And one of those is adrenaline. And the other is endorphin. Adrenaline is basically a fight or flight thing. It comes in, and it's excitement, and but it can be positive and it can be negative. Okay. The adrenaline, if it's a negative type of, if it's a fear or anger or rage, is very unhealthy. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, said that anger anger, the toxins of anger poison your blood. That was 100 and something years ago, you know. People didn't know what that was all about. They didn't talk about adrenaline and endorphins. Now, on the other hand, endorphins are almost like opiates. They are uplifting. They make you feel good. They make you feel happy, loving, joyful. So if you want to overcome the negativity of today and any negative days that may happen as we move forward, you want to make sure you have more endorphins going than adrenaline. This is why some people become addicted to adrenaline. And anger shows a very strong addiction to adrenaline. Fight or flight, they're going to fight. Okay? So you have to counteract that adrenaline with endorphins. So if you had that good old pie chart here, you know, and you figured out how much of a sliver of your day you were going to give to adrenaline and how much you were going to give to endorphins, give it to the endorphins. Think good thoughts. Watch happy movies. Please let go of the cliffhangers. Once in a while it's okay, but if they are violent, it's not helping you at all. I'm not your mother. I can't tell you what to do. But I can tell you, if you want to be happy, cut back dramatically on the adrenaline producing things and find a way to get some endorphins into your life. On a day-to-day basis, I got four little points, okay? The first one is acceptance. We accept the circumstances we are in. We are aware of them and we accept them. We ask Spirit. We ask, Native Americans would call it the Great Spirit. Some people would call it Buddha. Some people call it Confucius. Some people would call it Jesus or God or whatever you call the higher power, okay? Ask, what is mine to do? Whatever you are guided to do, you then are to act on it. And after you have been acknowledged and accepted, asked what is yours to do, acted on it, then it's time to let go and be happy and know you did the very best you could do. Okay? There's a favorite prayer of mine, and I'm just going to show it to you right now. I'm going to just give you the first part. And it says, "Oh, dear God, make me an instrument of your peace." So let's start off with that. During the week, we'll get to the rest of the prayer. But let your prayer for now be, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Remember, your words have power. Words can hurt and words can heal. And like my mama always said, always keep your words soft and sweet, because you never know when you're going to have to eat them. Have a great day. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow.